This is a baby dragon about to hatch, except he's got two heads. This is the same dragon, fully grown, destroying an entire army. We're going to be simulating the entire experience of raising this two-headed dragon as a pet, starting with his first steps. Right now he's super tiny and harmless, and I noticed the two heads had different personalities, so we should probably give him a name, or two names. Let's name him Frost and Blaze. Blaze sneezed fire, Frost sneezed frost. The thing is, when the blasts hit each other in the middle, it set off my smoke detector. So to keep them distracted, I brought out some toys. First was the rubber ball. Then I tried a normal toy. Yeah, we're gonna need something more sturdy. A villager. I should have got two of them. A treat dispenser? Frost froze it shut. It seemed like I couldn't get them to play without fighting over the toy. Until this storm glass. When Blaze heated it up, there would be mist. Then Frost could freeze the mist. This was the first time they worked together without fighting. But they'd better learn to work together more if they want to survive what's coming later. After playtime, they were hungry, but feeding two mouths was going to be a challenge. So, I had an idea. 2 plates, a silicone divider between them. I think this might work. But now, it's time to see what a two-headed dragon likes to eat. We tried some fruit, chicken nuggets, pancakes, fish. Okay, no more orange juice. Now we're gonna need to build a habitat that makes both heads happy. How about a heat lamp on one side and cool lights on the other? Volcanic rocks for Blaze, and cold rocks for Frost. Some caves, some ice packs, and a pool to cool off after. Also a little gym so they can exercise. I think it's pretty nice, but more importantly, what did they think? Right away, Frost and Blaze started exploring their new home. It seemed like they were having a blast. It was time to go touch some grass. I made a harness. Heat-resistant Kevlar straps on Blaze's side, insulated neoprene on Frost's. They started making some friends. Sort of. They managed to make the slowest living organism run away. I don't think that's a prince. No. That was close. Then they tried to pick on someone 5 times their size. They were smaller, slower, but Frost was smarter. It managed to trip the golden retriever. Then Blaze burned its toy. Everything was going great until 2 weeks later, they tripled in size. Burn marks on my ceiling, frozen pipes in 3 walls. Sorry, buddy, you've got to go. So, I cleaned out my garage. It was time to build this guy a new habitat. Covered the ground in gravel, painted the garage door. I thought this was more the right vibe. A nice little DIY fireplace, and a giant freezer, which was actually perfect. We'll see why in a second. But first, let's introduce Blaze and Frost to their new habitat. They seem cool with it, but as I was saying, they were getting bigger, and they were eating a lot more. Full steaks, watermelons, stacks of ribs. If this is how much they're eating now, imagine how much they'll need to eat when they get even bigger. Then the wings came in. They saw this bird fly, and they tried to copy it. Let's just say that flying is one of those things where 2 heads isn't better than 1. And when they gain some airtime, my roof suffered. My roof is fine, but then one day, they smelled something coming from outside. Yeah, a garage door isn't exactly meant to contain a dragon. let alone 2. Someone 2 streets over was having a barbecue, and I don't think Blaze and Frost were invited.
The food smells absolutely amazing.
The neighbors were a bit dramatic if you ask me. Blaze and Frost flew up onto the roof, and that's when animal control showed up. They tried tranq darts, but they just melted. Then they tried a net, which froze and shattered in midair. But then they pulled out the big guns. They hit both sides at the same time. Flamethrower on Frost, dry ice on Blaze, and forced them into a steel crate. They took Blaze and Frost to the local animal shelter. The shelter gave them the largest kennel they had, but they weren't really set up for a 2-headed dragon. The dogs started freaking out. The cats just went quiet. They tried feeding him kibble. Why would you try to feed dragons kibble? That's when I got called. We got moved into a special room where I showed them the 2-plate system. I knew then that it would never be the same, because they were only going to get bigger and more dangerous. It wasn't long before Frost and Blaze went viral. They caught the attention of a very rich collector.
I'll take it. Name your price.
But because of his reputation,
Application denied.
he didn't like being told no. This was exactly the push that Frost and Blaze needed to finally learn how to fly. I was sad to see them go, but happy that they would be free. At least I thought they would be free. This was their first time without 2 plates and a divider. They never had to hunt on their own before. So they were probably a little homesick. Eventually, Frost froze a patch of ground into a trap, and Blaze herded the rabbits toward it, and they caught their first meal. But rabbits aren't enough to feed 2 dragons. So they got better, hunted bigger. Somehow, before you knew it, these 2 very different personalities started working together. They even found a cave where Blaze heated one wall and Frost froze the other. They turned the cave into an impossibly beautiful, burning, frozen paradise. This is exactly what I wanted for them. To find their own way out in the wild, and to make a home for themselves. Sadly, this wouldn't last very long, because fire and ice typically don't go together in nature. So the rangers started noticing. It didn't help that all of the other animals were migrating out of the forest. And something else was happening. The scorched land was growing back. Heat-resistant plants nobody had ever seen. Frost-tolerant moss. That's when the scientists showed up. It wasn't long before word got back to a certain someone. Vane had been tracking a thermal satellite since the shelter escape. He knew exactly where they were. He sent a team, cryo cannons on Blaze, flamethrowers on Frost. Same technique as the animal control, but on hardcore mode. They cornered them. Neutralized both sides, tranquilized the body. Frost and Blaze never stood a chance.
We are receiving reports of a terrifying, unexplained weather anomaly.
I saw the news. I knew they needed my help. Vane had converted an aircraft hangar into a giant containment center for Frost and Blaze. Technically, temperature was split. Technically, there was food. Everything was there, but it wasn't a home. It was a prison cell. Blaze's color started to fade, and their scales started to crack. If that wasn't bad enough, Vane had an idea to make money off of Frost and Blaze. A live stream of an arena.
3 weeks. Pay-per-view. Historic.
Circus that the entire world could watch. Flame targets and ice sculpture stations. The live stream was a huge success. And when I saw it, I knew what I had to do. There was no way I could take on a billionaire all by myself. So you know what they say, if you can't beat them, join them. I got a job. Worked my way up until I could access the containment area. When I saw Blaze's color, I almost lost it. But I fed him some jerky and kept it in. That's all I could do for now. Eventually I got promoted to training duty, and that's when I remembered. So I started training them to do exactly that. And once they were ready, I waited until the night shift. Then I disabled the shock batteries. I pointed them to use their combined attack, just like we practiced. The wall came apart like paper. Every alarm in the facility went off. But Vane wasn't going to give up that easily.
You think you can escape?
He opened every cage. All these animals standing between us and freedom.
You think you can just walk away from me?
But after our training, they never stood a chance. Frost and Blaze escaped, but sadly, I don't have wings. I was taken to a private island, and it wasn't for vacation. Concrete prison, no trial, no phone. I guess it was karma. But then one day, I had a visitor.
Time to make up for your sins.
Vane had satellite images.
You're coming.
It responds to you.
A thermal anomaly was happening in Antarctica. He wasn't giving up on Frost and Blaze, and he needed me as bait. When we got there, a massive cave inside a crater. They must have been here a long time. I was sent inside with a group of soldiers. The tunnel went down for miles. Scorched rock on the left, frozen crystal on the right, whale bones everywhere. Yeah, there was no mistake. We were in the right place. Then, there they were. Bigger than I ever could have imagined. Must have been the size of a mountain. And they built all of this, but before I could even get their attention,
Drop the payload.
Vane dropped a nuke inside the tunnel. He wasn't there to recapture Frost and Blaze. He wanted revenge. Everything went white. I must have survived because Frost and Blaze absorbed the blast, and somehow it didn't kill them. It mutated them, and a third head grew. Vane's entire fleet started attacking. And it got even crazier. Every head that got struck split into 2. 3 became 5, 5 became 7, 7 became 12. Next thing you know, Frost and Blaze had a lot of new friends. They wiped out Vane's entire fleet. I knew what I had to do. I called out to Frost. He was always the more chill one. No pun intended. I knew if this fight kept going, humanity would lose. So, I told him to go somewhere that we couldn't follow him. And they went all the way down into the center of the earth.